Keynote address is by Dr. Uming, Corporate Vice President, MediaTek. He'll be talking to us on the topic, Impending Revolution in Transportation.
Thank you everyone for having me here for the afternoon. And I think you guys ready to shake up a little bit? All right, so let's try to talk about this next subject. It's the title as Impending Revolution in Transportation. And what I meant for that is actually we'll be talking a little bit about the autonomous vehicle. And maybe it's a little bit coming, but where are we heading? So allow me to get started. The story actually started from 1885, and I go over one page of history, and then we'll be talking about what's the problem statement. In other words, why autonomous vehicle, and why is it important to us, and why is it related to ISA that we are talking about in the Vision Summit. And then, more importantly, with this, understanding the why, then what's the vision statement? Where are we heading? What's our end goal? And the next is, what is that? What's the definition of AV? So let's synchronize a little bit. And more important for the audience is that where is the beef? In other words, why is it related to each one of us? And for the next few years in India. And I summarize with a conclusion. So before we start, so let's first look at historic perspective. This is 1885 when Carl Benz invented the first automobile, 1885. And sure enough, just like any prototype that we have been dealing with in history, the very, very first moment he went into public test, guess what happened? He bumped into an accident and he hit the wall. He crashed his car. 1885. You may ask the question, what happened nowadays? I show you some example. 130 years later, this is what happened. Certainly, it has its twist since Carl Benz invented the automobile 1885. But it's not working very well, so let's try to see if I can get my finger right. Do we have audio on? Okay, audio is on, so let's try to see. No, it's not on. Audio is not on. Okay, so let's try to see it. Okay.
Six accidents that happened due to Pokemon Go. Number 1. Teen gets hit by a car on the highway playing Pokemon Go. A 15-year-old girl named Autumn Dysrath was playing Pokemon Go when she lost track of where she was and crossed an intersection 20 miles outside Pittsburgh. Unfortunately, there was a car coming at the same time and she was hit. According to Autumn, she was forced to cross a 4-lane road to catch the Pokemon that was in her sight. Number 2. India's first Pokemon Go accident occurs in Mumbai. With all of the Pokemon Go related accidents being reported, India recently registered its first. A 26-year-old car dealer named Jabir Ali was sitting in his car playing Pokemon Go for the first time when he rammed his Mercedes into an auto rickshaw. Number 3. Many accidents reported since Pokemon Go's release in Japan. A 21-year-old office worker rammed his car into another vehicle in Otsu. 3 cars were involved in the accident, and the man who caused it said that he got carried away playing Pokemon Go. Number 4. Major highway accident caused by Pokemon Go. This is one of the most serious accidents that happened due to Pokemon Go. A 26-year-old Massachusetts man named Lamar Hickson is accused of causing one of the worst highway accidents in history by stopping in the middle of the highway to catch a Pikachu. After the accident, he told police that he was playing the popular game while driving. He told them that if you're going to catch Pokemon, you need to take a risk, so he put his car in park and began throwing Pokeballs. The charges against Hickson are still pending, and luckily, nobody involved in the accident was injured.
Okay, I think that's enough for 4 accidents, and that includes the India, and that's a Mercedes-Benz. So it's all linked to 1885 when it was first discussed. So with that understanding, let's really look at why the autonomous vehicle, what's the guts of that, and why it's needed. So this is the real reason. all those accidents, whether it's 1885 or 2016 on Pokemon Go or PokeZombie, it has one common factor. 90% plus of all the traffic accidents actually involve driver's error, whether it's admitted or not. 90% plus. So another perspective, look at this, 2015 traffic fatality, it was actually rising by the largest percentage in 15 years. I do a poll right now. How many of you visited USA in 2015? Please raise your hand. Okay, at least 30, 40%. Okay, congratulations, you are a survivor because in 2015, that represents the deadest driving year of the history since 2008. Okay, you all survived. Congratulations. So you have to understand, every single year, there's 1.2 million people die due to the automotive accident. And 2015 alone, in USA alone, serious injury, 4.4 million. Serious injury. In other words, in the emergency room, 4.4 million. That translates to about 17,000 per working days. So before I finish the talk, 350 people would be admitted to the emergency room in USA before I finish. That also translates to 38,000 people would die a year, or 127 people die every single working day. Every single working day. Still don't understand what does that mean? It means 1737 fall out of sky every single working day in the United States. Every single day. Still doesn't understand that? Before I finish, 3 people in U.S. would have died of traffic accident. 3 people. 350 admitted to the emergency room, 3 would die because of traffic accident. So, what's causing that? 1990 to 2010, average in USA, the driving distance increased by a whopping 38%. However, there are only 6% of new roads being constructed. You do the math. It's 6 times higher congestion, right? 6 times more congestion. Even worse than that, because most population all flock to city, like Bangalore. So if you think in Bangalore it's only 6 times, I bet you please double it, triple it, and maybe you're on the right side. That's the problem. So that's number one is people's life every single day, 127 people, a 737 jet fall out of the sky. That's not just it, that's number one. Number 2 is the commute time. 1.6 trillion minutes being burned per year. Now, if we look at in the US, let's do the math. 50 minutes commute per working day. What's going on? Okay, it's not with me, so somebody please help. 50 minutes commute time per day, and that's obviously an understatement in Bangalore, right? Right? In US, let's assume 50 minutes per day, and assuming it's 120 million of people commute every single day, that by definition, that's a 6 billion minutes a day. What does that mean, 6 billion? That means assuming 37 million of minutes for the life expectancy of a regular person of living 70 years old, that means every day we are wasting 162 lives. In addition to 127 people die of accident. You see of that, number 1 is the people die. Number 2 is people's time being wasted. No matter what you see it, 127, 162, it doesn't matter. So does it resonate in your mind now? Yes or no? Okay, now let's look at the other one. If we acknowledge those 2 statements, now let's look at what's the vision statement. In other words, what is the end goal we want to be going to? Okay, so this is a very simple chart. It cannot be simpler than that. On the X dimension, it's a vehicle that applies the brake unnecessary. In other words, it's not supposed to brake, but it brakes. Obviously, the classical car that we've been driving, it does not apply the brake for you. And on the other hand, in the Y dimension, the vehicle also does not avoid the accident for you. So that's a classic car. Obviously, that's most of the car we have today. Now, there's some hope, right? There's some driver assistance car that it would avoid maybe half of the accident. Let's say it avoid half the accident, and it sometimes has to apply the brake unnecessary, but it saves 50% of the accident. You go for it or not? Raise your hand. If you go for it, raise your hand. Only this few? If you go for it, please raise your hand. Let me change it around. If you don't want that, please raise your hand. Okay, now that's much better. But is that good enough? Obviously not good enough, right? So another way to see that here is what we want to is 99% at least we can avoid the accident. That is what the self-driving car is all about. In other words, it may have to apply slightly a little bit more of the brake unnecessary to driver's surprise, but in return, the return on investment of this unnecessary brake is that it saves life. If you don't like that, please raise your hand. If you like it, please raise your hand. Okay, good. So I think we are awake. The audience is awake after lunch. Okay, good. So we agree about the end goal now, right? Okay, at least most of you. So now let's look at what's the autonomous vehicle definition that we should be looking at. So I'll give you some example. By no means this is comprehensive, but at least there are some spec. Okay, before the spec, let's say what is AV? It actually starts with a map. This is a typical map with GPS. You have a map. That's the car. We are all driving. And next, it has added sensor to tell you your surrounding. Okay, so you understand what's your surrounding. And obviously, those purple boxes indicate the cars adjacent to you. And then there's also a bicycle that highlighted in red. And so those are the sensor data. And more than that, what it adds is the prediction, static prediction. For instance, if you have, if you know there's over here there's a construction going on and there's an orange sign over here, so you would know that this pickup over here, he would have to detour without a doubt. So this is a very static sense. That's easy. So there's a static prediction. Now, it does not end that. Obviously, the next step here is you need to have a decision making, and you need to understand the trajectory, whether you want to slow down, you want to accelerate or decelerate, or you want to make a right turn, you want to make a left turn, all of those. So those decision making will be a little bit more dynamic because then you need to understand the car next to you, how fast is he accelerating, not just yourself. Yourself is easy. Right? But your surrounding is more unpredictable. Okay, so other than that, that's it. In order to govern all these simple facts, what we just talked about, the most important item is the decision making. There's SAE standard J3016. And actually, I'm not going to go over that. I'm just going to highlight a very, very simple manner. On the upper right corner, you're going to see there's execution, whether you turn right, you turn left, you accelerate, you decelerate, and then you monitor whether your driving environments and do you have a fallback position, whether in the case of unpredicted situation, is it fall back to the driver or is it fall back to the system? Obviously, fall back to the system is smarter, right? Fall back to the driver, you know what? When people rely upon the system more than 1 minute, people disengage their mind to driving. Okay, so that's how unreliable we are. We disengage. Okay, so and then different driving mode. So in other words, there are basically two definitions. Number one is a human driving, where human monitors the driving environments, and it has a zero mode, level 0, level 1, level 2, and when it's in the level 2, then the execution is system driving. System is taking it over. Another side of it is very simple. It's a system monitors the driving environments, and then there's a definition of levels 3, 4, and 5. And very, very simple. By the time you have level 4, there's no more fallback to the human, because we learn the most unreliable situation of the whole driving is not the airbag is safe or not. Okay? It's not your cruise control or laser cruise control is working or not. It's not, we have all reinforced that over the years. We even have a rebar the door panel. We even have a mechanism where if a collision happens, the engine block would drop out to avoid the intrusion of the engine into the driver. We have all those technology. But those are solving some of the problem. The least reliable problem is human being. And this level 4 then becomes, there's no more fall back to the human. It always fall back to the system. So that's the beauty of that. Okay, I'm not going to go over in light of time in terms of in the CPU sense, what's the CPU in supporting the functional safety for the ISO 26262 ASIL D level requirement, where it's a lockstep computing. Basically, in a simple manner, we are following all the aviation technology into the autonomous vehicle in simple manner. Okay, they have redundancy. They have triple redundancy in automotive. Lockstep with 2 redundancy. We are very happy with that. Okay, but in the air, you have the 3rd dimension. So on the ground, we only have 2 dimensions. I think that's good enough. So, most important for the day of the discussion is where is the beef? And this is where we want to talk about is what's the opportunity. So, I already highlighted there are accident reduction. So, we also highlighted, so there's a safety. The second one we highlight is the cost saving. So we mentioned the commute time saving, right? 162 life of saving equivalently per working day. Now, there's another aspect of the cost saving. So just in case you have not, so let's look at this USA occupation. I only highlight 7 of the many occupations that's related to the driving. Taxi driver, bus driver, and the delivery, or the school, or the post service, or the UPS FedEx, or the heavy, the tractor, and the trailer truck driver. I highlight a reference of their annual wage. Obviously, that's a distribution, right? So let's don't go over too far. Just to use it as an example. Annual wage average is $36,000, and how many jobs of that? There are about 3.9 million, almost 4 million jobs like that in those 7 categories. So in other words, if we can replace all of them with autonomous vehicle, which we are in the proactive phase in moving towards the angle, we can save $148 billion a year and reinvest that $148 billion to other more important subjects that can create jobs. And I bet you a time with $148 billion of investment, there's a lot of jobs being created. Okay? So, and that's not just it. Look at another important factor is the aging and physically impaired. And you think that's not related to you? Just wait a second. This is the data. The data shows that 1960 to 2015 in terms of the population percentage of age greater than 65 years old. Okay? So the most standing out item is Japan. Used to be 6%, going to 26%. 4x. You said, oh, that's not me. Look at India, 3 to 6. Double. So why it's not going as fast as Japan? But if you look at Western Europe, look at the France, almost 20%. Germany, 20%. UK, 18%. Even in US, it's 15%. What does that mean? When we get old, our response is not as fast. And when we get old, our structural integrity is more brittle. In other words, when we hit something, it tends to collapse. Okay? So, for instance, in Japan, while the senior population only account for 25% of the traffic accident because they don't drive much, those senior people account for 50% of automotive fatality in the traffic accident. That's just the fact. Do we have Japanese here attending? Raise your hand. We don't have any Japanese delegate. Oh, yes, we do. Okay, whether it's true or not. Okay, but that's the statistics. Okay, so we need to acknowledge that that's an aging population. So senior, we do need to help. So more than that, urban parking to a new development conversion. If you don't think this is important, look at in London, London Metroplex. There's how many? It's talking about 8,000 hectares of land is being occupied by parked car. even shocking. What's the utilization of those parked cars? Want to take a guess? If you drive 2 hours a day, that cannot be high, right? If you drive 1 hour a day, that's 1/24th. That's even less. So that's 5%. So that's the statistics shows those parked cars at highest has average of 7% utilization. That's a huge waste. You think about how do you convert this 15 to 20% of the land space on the level, not even talking on a three-dimensional, multiple story, you can translate billions and even trillions of dollars into job creating. So that's how important in terms of opportunity for the autonomous vehicle. Now, if you still don't think it's fast approaching, Google self-driving car has started test pilot program in 2009. And more than that, if you look at Tesla's S model, the autopilot has started 2014. You may hate that one traffic accident that cost life, but when you compare it to 127 lives wasted every single working day, you need to see the order of the magnitude. Technology, while at its early stage, cost life like Tesla's accident. I think it's still better off if the worldwide population, where we are approaching 8 billion, we can solve this problem together. So if you look at Uber has also started in Pittsburgh, 2016 in September, commercial pilot program. Not to mention this year in October, when I visited Singapore, Nutonomy already started this taxi service. That's a self-driving taxi. And I cannot name all of them out there. Okay, so it's sprouting everywhere. So that's what happened today. Look at the semiconductor contents in relative sense. The semiconductor contents in 2012 is already averaged $440 a car. That's the average. For the luxury car in 2012, you can triple, you can quadruple it in the semiconductor contents. Now, this number is fast approaching due to the growing opportunities. That's all in the communication, the telematics, and that's in the entertainment, the green initiative, the active safety. We just talked about the telematics, the lighting, as well as in-vehicle networking. All of those is going to drive it in 2018 from 2012 440 by about 6% CAGR, and that would reach about 610. And again, you could quadruple it for the luxury car. Okay, so if you still don't think that automotive is adopting the most recent technology, also think twice. This pie chart shows 2015 MCU, which most people tend to think automotive is using MCU. And if you look at this pie chart, 70% with the most advanced technology, that's actually only up to 65 nanometer. That's the highlighted in blue. Okay, 70% up to is up to the 65 nanometer. But because of all this autonomous vehicle driving, all this heavy computation needed, no longer they are using the traditional technology of MCU, the old technology. They're already changing. So they already learned to use the logic process, and the same period of time in 2015, you notice that from MCU, the traditional automotive, they are moving to a logic process, and what's on the left, the blue as the newest technology in MCU of 65 nanometer. On the right-hand side, that becomes the oldest technology of the 70% in green. And the most recent technology is actually 28 nanometer. So in short summary, automotive application processor, DSP, and application-specific products already figure out how to leverage the logic process for the PPA. It's transitioned very, very fast, faster than we thought. So if you still have that image of automotive as MCU, it's very old, just think again. Now, after those two perspectives, let's look at another perspective of a semiconductor market over time. From 2014 to 2019, what's the CAGR? Average CAGR is about 4.3% for the total IC, no matter how you count it. Average. But if you want to zoom in and divide into a 6 application segment, then you can probably see in different perspectives. And those 6 six application segment average to 4.3% are the following. Automotive is the highest by more than 50%. So automotive end up with a 6.7% CAGR. That's 50% higher than the average of 4.3. Okay? So in other words, driven by the computation of the next generation functional safety, or the ADAS, with the requirement to sense longer range, further distance, because driver is driving pretty fast. And with the requirement of to detect the precision, not only you need to sense far, you need to decide, you need precise sensing the adjacency and all the dynamic environments, and most important is the life or death situation. When you are driving at 100 kilometers, like from airport to Bangalore City, you bet in the middle of the night, those taxi drivers, they are driving more than 100 kilometers an hour. Relentless. So when a situation like that, the decision is a life or death situation. So look at the CAGR, that's what differentiates automotive. Now, if you don't believe that, you say, that's too good to be true. What's driving that 6.7%? That's ADAS. That's ADAS that's driving the previous one. And the ADAS I'm quoting here in the number of dollars is actually system mechanics plus electronics. And you can see on the left chart here, by the region, you can see actually it's across all the region has the same potential growth over the time from 2014 to 2023. And the average CAGR is a double digit. You can see the average is about 20%. Now, if you still don't think that's related to you think that's ADAS is only for the guys sitting on the first row, for those rich guys, or the second row or the third row of the table, think again. Because right-hand side is telling you that blue, green, as well as the red, those represent more than 95% of the population in the room. By the market position, you'll be all covered. So it's going to cover everybody in the room in terms of this ADAS over the time. So I'm not going to go over those details. So the short summary here is the $10 billion of TAM in ADAS in 2014 is growing to $40 billion, quadruple by 2033. And the average is a very significant 20% CAGR towards autonomous vehicle. Why is MediaTek talking about this? We obviously want to invite everybody to join. But the reason we are so interested in this and we are driving this very heavily is because we have one of the best CPU technology in the world, as evident in the mobile applications. And we also have a very, very slimmed down and also very, very low power solution at the SoC level. And not to mention, we have an outstanding connectivity of all kinds to link it up to all kinds of telematics you need in the autonomous vehicle. We also have a premium multimedia to keep the passengers entertained. What's our conclusion? The conclusion here is, before I summarize in text, I want to say we have seen what's the AV, autonomous vehicle in the near future. Mercedes F-105 is demonstrating this digital living space. So when you commute, you don't need to be stuck. I heard some people commute every day, one way, 1 to 2 hours. Okay, one way. You could do your work. You could have a meeting with your colleague. Not just that, I'm pretty sure this Apple Titan project is going to change the user experience again, like what they used to do in the mobile space. And it could be linked up with virtual reality to do a lot of work. Even monitoring a lot of systems, or the training, or industrial, for all kinds of application. And for those of you, we know what this Night Rider is all about. If you're in the right age group, you understand what I'm talking about. At that time, you can summon the car, right? But wouldn't that be great that you and your spouse can share one car? In the morning, you drive it, and then she can call you back. And in the afternoon, you need it. Okay, you call it back again without driver. All right? So you don't need to hire a driver anymore. All right. So, and if you think it's only two-dimensional, think again. CES 2017 has this a 3D passenger-carrying autonomous transportation vehicle. It's a drone that carries a passenger. Does not need a pilot. I want to try that next time I go to Himalaya. Okay, so what's my conclusion? My conclusion, I have only 40 seconds to go with it. Number one, if you remember the mobile phone in your pocket, if it's smartphone and it happen to be iPhone, then you probably know that it's equivalent to Cray 1. Young kids don't understand what's Cray 1. Okay, allow me to repeat. Cray 1 is the first generation supercomputer. Okay, so that's what iPhone has in the computation power. So the future car will be the most powerful mobile phone coupled with supercomputing. What does that mean? Sensor. Today, it's already supercomputer level of mobile phone. Tomorrow, you would be even more super mobile, plus you'll be supercomputing on the wheel. And more than just on the wheel, it's driving at more than 100 kilometers per hour. And that needs to be saving the life and saving the time. So it's obviously going to leverage the newest technology now for computation and for the best PPA in order to make it cost effective. Otherwise, you will spend thousands of watts in today's autonomous vehicle. So it needs to be cost effective. So autonomous vehicle 2020, actually the service has started 2016. And there are four major opportunities, just to re-summarize: the safety, saving life, the cost of time, and also the cost of the job, and then the mobility for the aged and the physically despaired. And don't think it's not related to you. It's going to be related to us sooner or later. Okay? And then it's a new business. We can convert all those wasted parking space in the Metroplex. Just think about that. So, CAGR, all of this is driven by 6.7% of semiconductor for automotive. This is underestimate. We can wait and see. Okay, this 6.7% will be underestimate. But it represents the data we have in the book. This is the highest semiconductor and application segment into the 2020, which is also driven by the fact that CAGR for ADAS will be 20% average. And I believe that's also an understatement. 10 billion in 2014 is going to translate to 40 billion in 2023. We can wait. I think it will be higher than that. Communication and computation. In 2012, we can see already 400 processors. It won't be a surprise to me. By the time it's 2020, you'll be 1,000 microprocessors for sensing, longer range, for precision, to be safe, and for the most important, life or death decision-making at 100 kilometers per hour. So if all of us already witnessed the mobile communications life changer event in the year 2000 to year 2020, so I think it's about the time to embrace the next 20 years where autonomous vehicle combining the super mobile is a fusion of the super mobile sensor as well as supercomputing. And I think it's for everybody in the room. More important, the opportunity for industry, for academic, for innovation. So I think it's for many, many years to come. With that, I thank you very much.
Check. Would like to thank Dr. Uming Ko. I'd like to request Mr. Anil Kumar, Director, SLN Technologies and Treasurer, IESA, to please come forward and present a small token of appreciation to Dr. Uming Ko. Ladies and gentlemen, please give him a big round of applause once again. We'd like to thank him for that very lively and enlightening keynote address.
Okay, thank you.